Most people don't fall in love with you, and they fall in love with the way they feel about themselves in your presence. Let that sink in, my friends, because this one truth, it shatters everything you've been told about attraction. You've been told to be prettier, sexier, more available, less emotional. You've been told to say the right thing, reply at the right time, keep him guessing. But the truth, none of that touches a man's soul. What does? You. Showing up in your power, in your presence, as the mirror he never saw coming. Before we go deeper, press that like button, hit subscribe, and turn on those notifications, not for vanity, but because I pour my entire soul into this content. I don't give tips, I give truth. And if this speaks to you already, then your support is how we keep this going. This isn't just a channel, this is a movement, and I need you in it. Now, hey ladies, imagine this. You meet a man who seems to have everything in order. His calendar's full, his gym routine solid, his confidence calculated, his past boxed up neat. He smiles like nothing touches him and talks like he's already figured love out. But then you see it, not in his words, but in the pause between them. That small, unguarded flicker behind his eyes, a quiet ache, a missing piece, like a mansion with locked doors no one's been allowed to enter. And without even trying, you reach it, not with a dress, not with a line, not with a strategy, with your energy, with the way you see him, not for who he pretends to be, but for who he is beneath it all. You don't push, you don't perform, you exist. And that's when it happens. Something ancient inside him shifts. His mind doesn't understand it, but his body feels it. His soul recognizes it. That's not luck. That's not timing. That's you stepping into your feminine truth. Because, my friends, men don't fall for effort, they fall for effect. Carl Jung said, the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. And that's what we're talking about, real chemistry. The kind that doesn't just spark lust, it disarms armor. The kind of attraction that doesn't make a man chase you, it makes him see himself differently in your presence. Most women are out here performing, doing, saying, proving, and still wondering why they're not unforgettable. But the women who leave a mark, the ones who haunt him in silence months after she's gone, she didn't do much, she was much. She stood still in her truth and let him feel what it was like to be in the presence of real feminine energy. And if you've ever had a man pull away after telling you you're different, it's because he felt it and it scared him, not because you were too much, but because you reached the part of him no one else could. That sacred, silent part that doesn't know how to perform, only how to feel. So if you've been wondering how to become that kind of woman, the one he can't stop thinking about long after the text thread ends, then stay with me, because what we're about to unlock isn't about being chosen. It's about becoming the kind of woman a man remembers in his silence and feels in his soul. Number one, he's not falling for you. He's falling for what you reflect. Carl Jung said the soul doesn't crave perfection. It longs for reflection. And my friends, it changes everything once you understand what it really means. Because let's get this straight from the start. He's not falling for you, not in the way you've been taught. He's falling for what he sees in you, or more accurately, what he recognizes in himself through you. You're not just a person in his life, you're a mirror, and sometimes you're the first one brave enough to show him his own face. Now picture this, you walk into a dimly lit room. The walls are lined with mirrors, but they're all warped, distorted, funhouse reflections that show fragments of truth, but never the whole. Most people have grown used to these mirrors. They don't question the distortion, they accept it, until one day someone walks in holding a mirror that's clear, pure, untouched. And suddenly there's no more hiding. That's what your presence can be to a man. Not a performance, not a pitch, a revelation. And that's exactly why some men get hooked and others get scared as hell. And you ever had a man tell you, I've never felt this way before, and then vanish? Or pull away just when things started getting real? You start to doubt yourself. You wonder, was I too much? Did I say the wrong thing? Should I have held back more? Let me say this loud for the women in the back. You weren't too much. You were too true. You reflected something he wasn't ready to see in himself. And here's the twist most never tell you. Attraction isn't built on clever lines or perfectly timed texts. It's built on symbolic resonance. It's your energy, your stillness, your ability to stay rooted in your truth without trying to bend or shrink for someone else. Jung taught us that the unconscious doesn't speak in words. It speaks in symbols. That means when a man finds himself drawn to you without knowing why, it's not because you followed some step-by-step dating playbook. It's because you activated an archetype in him, an internal blueprint of connection, safety, or mystery he didn't even know was inside him. And that's why your energy has to come from wholeness, not from needing him to choose you, but from already having chosen yourself. Let me ask you this. Have you ever seen a man look at you like he was seeing something sacred, and then right after, he pulled away like he saw a ghost? That's because you weren't just flirting, you were awakening. You see, most women try to attract by doing, texting more, smiling more, dimming their light to stay likable, but that's not what makes you unforgettable. It's not about trying harder, it's about being that still flame he can't stop staring at. Being that mirror that shows him what's possible if he dares to step into his truth. Then yes, sometimes that reflection terrifies him. Because let's be honest, most men don't run from women, they run from themselves, and you just happen to be the first woman who didn't show him fantasy, but clarity. So don't let his retreat confuse your value. Don't take his fear as a failure on your part. What you awakened in him wasn't superficial, it was symbolic, and symbols live longer than memories. They echo in the quiet. They haunt in the best way. This is the start of something deeper, my friends, because in the next section, we're going even further. We're cracking open the truth about how your presence alone creates that emotional gravity that pulls him in, not through effort, but through energy. Stay with me. You're about to learn how to become the kind of woman who doesn't beg for attention. She becomes the invitation to a deeper version of him. And once he sees that, he can't unsee it. Number 2, presence over performance, the silent language that hooks him. You don't have to raise your voice to raise your value. Let that land for a second, my friends, because this is where most women get it twisted. We live in a world that teaches you to perform, smile more, text back fast, say the right thing, be cool, be chill, don't want too much, don't need too much, be the dream girl, but don't dare be your full self. And without realizing it, you start performing, not because you're fake, but because you've been trained to believe your presence alone isn't enough. But let me tell you something that flips the script. What hooks a man's soul isn't performance, it's presence. There's a quiet power in a woman who is rooted. A woman who walks into a room and doesn't need to adjust herself to fit in. She's not trying to impress. She's not playing the part. She's simply inhabiting her own energy, fully, unapologetically. And that kind of presence, the male unconscious immediately recognizes it. Why? Because it's rare, because it's real. Imagine 2 women in the same room. One is doing all the things she thinks she's supposed to do, laughing on cue, complimenting him, trying to say the right words to keep his attention. She's lovely, she's likable, she's agreeable, but something feels forgettable. Now across the room, there's another woman. She's not loud, she's not trying to be seen, but she is felt. She listens with depth. She holds eye contact without needing anything from it. She responds with intention, not just reaction. Her stillness, it creates gravity. She's not shouting, she's the still water that pulls him in. And here's what most don't understand. Men may not consciously know why they're drawn to her, but something in their subconscious says she's different. Not because of what she said, but because of how she made him feel safe, curious, alive. Let's be real. When you're performing, you're projecting. You're in your head, you're asking, am I doing this right? But when you're present, you're connected. You're in your body. You're not waiting to be chosen. You are the choice. So stop trying to be impressive. Start being invisible to noise and unforgettable to presence. Stillness isn't passive, it's magnetic. Confidence isn't volume, it's vibration. And in the next part, we're going even deeper. We're going to break down the shadow that lives inside him and how your calm presence, without trying, becomes the very force that awakens it. Stay with me, because this is where the real power starts to rise. Number 3, the shadow he hides and how you unlock it. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. And my friends, that quote isn't just deep philosophy, it's your roadmap to understanding the secret side of every man you've ever been drawn to. Because no matter how confident he looks, how successful, how charming, how in control, there is a shadow inside him. A part of himself he doesn't show. Maybe he doesn't even know it's there, but it's real. It's the part that holds his tenderness, his fears, his unmet needs, his quiet ache to be seen without having to perform strength all the time. And most women, they never get close enough to touch that space, not because they're not good enough, but because they're trying to break through instead of learning how to draw it out. You don't break him down. You draw him out. Say it with me. See, the male psyche has been taught to armor up, to suppress softness, to stay logical, composed, in control. He's been told that vulnerability is weakness, and that needing anything, especially emotional intimacy, makes him less of a man. So that shadow, that hidden inner world, he's been tucking it away for years, maybe decades. But here's the wild part. That shadow is starving for connection. And when a woman shows up not trying to fix him, not trying to pull him open, but simply existing in her own grounded truth, she creates a safe space for the shadow to exhale. He doesn't always understand it. Sometimes he'll act distant, sometimes he'll overthink, but his soul, it feels something he hasn't felt in years. That's where your power lives. Not in force, not in pressure, not in needing him to react a certain way, but in your ability to stand there fully in your feminine energy, present, calm, unbothered, and let him come to you. That's not weakness, that's emotional leadership. It's when you become the lighthouse, not the storm. You don't chase his heart, you become the first place it's ever felt safe enough to show itself. And yes, this kind of woman scares him because she doesn't just represent affection, she represents transformation. And that's the part that makes him lean in, even if he doesn't know why. So don't underestimate what your stillness awakens. You're not just attracting a man, you're calling out the best part of him, the part he's buried, the part he's been afraid to bring to the surface. And up next, we're pulling back the curtain on why trying too hard actually kills attraction and how doing less can spark more desire than you ever thought possible. Stay with me, my friends. The shift is just getting started. Number 4, why trying too hard kills attraction and what to do instead. Desperation is loud, confidence is quiet, and he feels the difference before you say a word. Let that hit, my friends, because this is where so many women, even the strongest, most self-aware ones, fall into the trap. We're told to put yourself out there, keep his interest, show him you care, and somehow that turns into over-efforting, texting first all the time, making plans, dropping hints, shrinking ourselves, waiting by the phone, and the whole time wondering, why doesn't he see me? Let me break it to you gently, but truthfully. Trying too hard doesn't attract a man, it activates his defense system. Because on an unconscious level, when you're chasing him, what you're really saying is, I need something from you to feel okay within myself. And that kind of energy doesn't feel romantic. It feels heavy. It feels like pressure. And pressure makes him pull back, even if he doesn't understand why. Now imagine this. There's a woman running through a foggy forest chasing a shadow that keeps slipping away. She's running fast, shouting louder, her heart racing. But the more she runs, the more the shadow disappears, because the very act of chasing creates distance. Then there's another woman. She walks into a room. She doesn't run. She doesn't search. She just stands still. She breathes. She occupies her space like she was born to be there. And suddenly everything shifts. The shadow doesn't run anymore. It moves toward her. Because she wasn't chasing it. She was lighting the room. That's what your energy is meant to do. Not run after, not prove, not perform, but to glow, to magnetize, to be so deeply rooted in your own calm, radiant presence that he can't help but lean in. And don't confuse this with passivity. This isn't about doing nothing. This is about doing what matters most, embodying your wholeness before asking someone else to complete it. You want to be unforgettable? Stop trying to be agreeable. You want to be magnetic? Stop giving him energy you haven't given to yourself first. So many of you are walking around with your light dimmed, hoping someone else will notice you. But real attraction, it begins the moment you realize you were the light all along. And in the next section, we're dialing into the deeper layer of that power, where your body, your voice, your energy become the language he remembers long after the words are gone. Stay with me, my friends. You're about to learn how to speak without even saying a word. Number 5, the unspoken magnet, how your energy speaks before your words. You can say everything right and still lose him if your energy says you don't believe a word of it. Let's stop pretending words are the main event, my friends. They're not. Energy is. Because a man doesn't fall for your sentences, he falls for your state. He doesn't remember every text you sent or every clever thing you said, but he'll remember the way you looked at him, the way your energy held still, even when he was testing the waters. He remembers how he felt around you more than anything you ever explained. Here's the hard truth. Say the right words with the wrong energy, it dies before it lands. You can compliment him, flirt, drop every perfect line in the book. But if your body is anxious, your eyes are searching, your voice is unsure, he feels that disconnect. And that disconnect, it breaks the signal, because his unconscious is always listening, even when he's not. And what it's listening for isn't charm or cleverness, it's congruence, alignment between your words, your body, your truth. So let me give it to you straight. Own your space like a queen, let your presence do the talking. When you speak, speak from your center, not your fear. When you walk, walk like you belong. When you look him in the eyes, do it like you're not trying to convince him of anything, but like you already know your worth. Let's make this practical. Before a date or before seeing him, breathe deeply, slow, steady. Drop into your body, release your shoulders, soften your face. You don't need tension to be attractive. You need stillness. Make eye contact, but don't force it. Let it be calm, let it linger. And when you speak, say less, but say it with meaning. Speak from your root, not from the part of you that's reaching for validation. Because when your words match your energy and your energy matches your truth, you become unshakable, unforgettable. The most powerful women aren't always the loudest. They're the ones who don't have to prove anything, because when they show up, the room adjusts. And yes, you can be that woman, because attraction isn't about becoming someone else. It's about becoming fully yourself, unapologetically, in the presence of someone else. And in the next section, we're going to break down when to drop your energy into the space, because if timing is off, even a queen can feel misunderstood. Stay with me, my friends. You're about to learn the art of knowing when to spark the flame. Number 6, timing is everything. When to drop the energy that hooks him. A spark in the wrong moment is just smoke, but the right spark at the right time, that's how you start a fire that never forgets where it began. My friends, if there's one thing I've learned watching powerful women misfire in love, it's this. It's not always what you say, it's when you say it. Timing is sacred. See, when you reveal your truth too soon, when you come in heavy before he's ready to receive it, it doesn't land as warmth, it lands as weight. He feels pressure, not presence. And that pressure, that's what makes him pull back. Not because your truth was wrong, but because the timing made it feel like a demand, not a gift. But wait too long, hold it back out of fear, overthinking, hesitation, and the moment passes. The spark fizzles. What could have been an unforgettable imprint becomes just another almost. So how do you know when to drop it, when to say the thing that shifts the atmosphere? You feel it, and you stop asking, is this the right time? And you start listening to the energy. And that, my friends, requires stillness, presence, self-trust. It means being so attuned to the room, the moment, your own body, that when the window opens, you don't overthink it. You just lean in and let the spark fall. Imagine a movie scene. The tension's building. The music slows. 2 characters are talking. She's about to walk away, but before she does, she turns around, says one line. Not dramatic, not desperate, just timed so precisely that the entire audience holds their breath. That's you. You're the line. You're the moment. You're the pause that changes the story, but only if you drop the spark at the right time. So here's how you practice. Tune in. Notice when the energy opens, when he's laughing, when he's leaning in, when his guard is down and yours is too. That's your window. That's when you drop something subtle, powerful, intentional. Maybe it's a glance, a phrase, a touch of curiosity in your voice, nothing overdone, but everything felt, because men don't respond to pressure. They respond to possibility. You don't shove the door open, you leave it cracked just enough for him to wonder what's behind it. And in the next section, we're going even deeper into what he's responding to on that subconscious level. Not the words, not the timing, but the symbolism your presence carries. Stay with me, because this next part, it's not just emotional, it's mythic. Number 7, how to become his unconscious obsession. You don't just get remembered, you get felt forever. That's the difference between a woman he dated and a woman who changed his internal chemistry. My friends, let's take it beyond the surface, because what we're talking about now doesn't live in text threads or playful banter. This is about the imprint you leave in his unconscious mind, the one that echoes when you're not around, the one that shows up in his silence, not his Instagram likes. And you don't leave that kind of imprint by trying to be perfect. You leave it by being mythic. Now stay with me here. Carl Jung taught that inside every man is a hidden feminine image, a soul symbol, an archetype. He called it the anima. She's not a woman. She's an energy, a frequency, a mirror of his deepest emotional longing. And when a man meets a woman who unconsciously mirrors that energy, not by force, not by strategy, but simply by being, something happens inside him that even he can't explain. He starts thinking about her without trying. He's driving to work, and there she is in his mind. And he hears a song, smells a scent, sees a smile on a stranger, and something in his chest tightens. Not because he misses her body, because he misses what her presence awakened. That's how you become his unconscious obsession. And the wildest part, it's not something you do to him, it's something your authenticity does to the room you walk into. Because the moment you stop trying to be his type and start standing in your own archetype, you activate something ancient in him, not the part of him that's looking for a good time, the part of him that's been aching for a home he didn't know he'd lost. You don't become unforgettable because you were fun or hot or easy to talk to. You become unforgettable because you symbolize something sacred. And that's why some men will try to move on and still see you in every woman after you. And not because they want to copy you, because what you mirrored can't be replaced. That's not a game. That's not a tactic. That's soul level influence. And if you're thinking, how do I become that woman? The truth is, you already are. The work is simply about peeling off the layers that taught you to be small, to be sweet, to be digestible. You're not here to be easily consumed. You're here to be etched into his story. And next, we're unlocking the final piece of the puzzle, how to let silence, stillness, and surrender do the work so you don't have to. Stay with me, because the quietest part of your power is the part he'll never forget. Number 8, own your power, the silent act that makes him choose you. When you finally stop trying to be chosen, you become the woman no man can forget. My friends, let that settle in your chest, because this is where the shift becomes permanent. You've spent enough time wondering what to say it, how to text it, how to not seem too much. But the truth is, you were never too much. You were just offering your fullness to someone who hadn't yet learned how to hold it. So now we flip the script. You don't wait for him to pick you. You become the choice, not through noise, not through proving, but through the quietest, most powerful act there is, being fully at home in yourself. Because when a woman walks through life with self-trust, when her energy says, I am enough before you even arrive, she doesn't need to chase love. She becomes love. And love, real love, it moves toward her like a flame moves toward oxygen. And let me tell you something loud and clear. You don't need to talk louder. You need to stand taller. You don't need more strategies. You need presence, and you don't need to be chosen. You need to choose yourself so completely that anyone who enters your life is simply aligning with what already exists. That's when men lean in. That's when they start to feel that pull they can't explain. Not because you asked for it, but because your silence carried a message stronger than any performance ever could. Because here's the truth that most don't want to admit. The woman who owns her power doesn't beg. She doesn't chase. She doesn't wait. She becomes the moment he remembers. She becomes the energy that lingers in his mind when the room is quiet. She becomes the echo of something true. And you, my friend, you have that power right now. It's not something you have to earn. It's something you return to. So walk like your energy speaks before you do. Speak like your truth doesn't need applause. Stand like every room was built to hold your power. Because when you move through life like that, the right man doesn't just want you, he respects you. He doesn't just see you, he feels you. And he doesn't just stay, he chooses you again and again without you ever having to ask. Now, if this message stirred something inside you, if it reminded you of your own worth, your own fire, press that like button, hit subscribe, and not for me, for you. Because this journey we're on, it's not about chasing love, it's about becoming the version of yourself that love is drawn to. And here's what it all comes down to, my friends. You don't have to chase, convince, or prove anything to be chosen. When you embody presence, when you move with grounded self-worth, you don't just attract love, you become unforgettable. Let your energy do the work. Let your truth speak louder than your words. If this message stirred something inside you, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with a woman who needs this reminder. Because the more we rise in truth, the more powerful love becomes. Stay rooted, stay radiant. See you soon.